Hi,
Hi,
Christian.
Rachel.
Um, so to start, my favorite Taylor Sheridan story ever is Hell or High Water. So the
Mm,
fact about oil and in Texas, I was like, great, I'm fully invested just because that's a fun world to exist in within, the Sheridan universe. But when you were working on this show with him, what for you was the biggest challenge of making this different than kind of what everyone now expects from a
mm.
Taylor Sheridan show on Paramount?
So Hell or High Water is my favorite too. So we have that in common. And that's I've wanted to work with Taylor ever since I first watched that movie in a theater. There was just something different about that writing, about those characters that really struck a chord with me. And so I was excited. This is Taylor's first, as far as I know, Texas set show or anything since Hell or High Water. They go to the Four Sixes in Yellowstone and things like that, but this is like really delving deeply into Texas. And so that alone, I think, is one of the things that makes this stand out from some of the other series. And they're all great. Like they're all of a palette, I would say. But this one is, Billy Bob Thornton is a big part of the tone, the comedy that's in this show is, I think, maybe going to surprise some people just how much humor is in what is also an oil drama, and that is Billy's unique flavor that he brings to this thing.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say, I was like, most of these shows that Taylor does, there's like the one big person that you're like, okay, I'm gonna watch this because it's Jeremy Renner. I'm gonna watch this because it's Sylvester Stallone or Kevin Costner, whoever it is, but Harrison Ford. But in this show, it's like, okay, well, you got Demi Moore, you got Billy Bob Thornton, you got John Hamm, you got Ali Lar. It just like continues to go down the line. When you guys were working on it, were you aware of like the amount of star power that a show like this was gonna have to carry what you were working on?
Yeah, I mean, to have those names that you just listed, it's incredible. I mean, they're all so good, and they're so good in this that, yeah, it's kind of unbelievable to me. But that's the thing. People want to work with Taylor. Like they trust his storytelling. They it's I think it's different from a lot of the other projects that maybe they've been offered. And to see Demi Moore play this, oil wealthy oil woman in Fort Worth. She kills the accent, by the way. It's so good. And I think it's fun for them as well. And that's I'm the beneficiary of that people want to work with Taylor, want to be in shows like this because of course it just elevates the profile. People get excited about seeing these particular stars in this show, and the fact that they deliver is just, it makes it all the more exciting.
Yeah, and for my last question, I want to ask because I mean now it's infamous that like with these shows, a lot of people they're like, we don't improv, we just say what is written, and like that's kind of like the deal with them. But you're talking about the comedy aspect of this show. And so I think it's very interesting to be like, well, yeah, the people don't really improv, but like this show is more comedic than the others. Did you find it was more like a freeing environment, or did you guys have that comedy just built in so that it was the same policy as the other shows where they stuck to the script, but it was just kind of already there?
Good question. So I would say there was a lot of comedy and humor in the scripts that Taylor wrote, but I would also say that I think, based on what I've talked to cast and crew, who are in this universe and worked on other shows, uh, I will say that Billy and Michael Pena and James Jordan, they all brought more improv, a little bit more just like off the cuff one liners. There was more flexibility there to just kind of riff. That first episode with Michael Pena and Emilio Rivera and Alejandro, like their dynamic was just so, they helped create that chemistry and that comedy that is, I really just love their dynamic in the pilot. And then of course Billy, like he is such he is Tommy Norris in many ways. Like he embodies that character so well that, the scene should have ended, but then he just keeps going and adds a couple extra lines that are have made the final cut of the show. And that's the pleasure of working with Billy Bob, is that extra little bit that he brings to the table is really fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for everyone to get to see Landman.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Bye.